Heyo, it's Mayo. Today's video was a recently requested topic and I thought this was a great question, so we're here to talk about it today. Also, you may see a rainbow on my neck at some points because I have a crystal in my window, so there's rainbows and it's just, we're letting it be. If you didn't know, I suffered with pretty awful insomnia for years. I was chronically ill for 5 years, and for pretty much all of that time, I had insomnia. At my worst, I was sleeping at the opposite time of day, so during daylight I was asleep, and during nighttime I was awake. I didn't see daylight for many months. At another point, I was actually sleeping every other day for a couple weeks, and that was a pattern that would happen off and on sometimes, that I would sleep every other day, and that was just something that came along with my tick-borne infections. Yay, inflammation. Very early into my tick-borne diseases, I was bone tired. I was exhausted, and I just felt like all I needed was good rest, and I could not for the life of me sleep. And when I would sleep, it was restless. I would have twitchiness. I would have night sweats, night terrors. The list goes on and on. Sleep was awful for me for years. It was a brutal cycle in my life for so many years. It literally affected everything in my health, in my life. It made everything harder. And I could really talk about the struggles of insomnia so much because I lived that life for so many years. But we're going to talk about healing today. I tried everything to heal my insomnia. I tried sleeping pills, and those kept me awake for 3 days. Later, when I was finally diagnosed with mast cell activation syndrome, that opposite effect was finally explained by something. Mast cell can sometimes cause people to have an opposite reaction or an odd adverse reaction. So this finally explained why caffeine didn't wake me up, sugar didn't get me hyper, sleeping pills kept me awake, alcohol made me dull. I have odd reactions to things. So, sleeping pills did not work. So then what? We were treating my illnesses and we knew I was healing, but my insomnia continued to be a problem and we didn't know why. Because if I'm healing and the treatment is working, then why am I still not sleeping? The treatment didn't seem to really touch my insomnia, and that kind of put us at a loss. I had a couple doctors tell me that they had seen this in other patients before, that they had other patients have really, really strong insomnia problems and would try everything and nothing worked. And they said these people eventually just kind of left the insomnia be, and eventually they healed enough that the insomnia healed on its own. They actually told me that they had seen this happen in multiple people before, where it was literally just overnight one day randomly that their sleep would turn around. And naturally, I was really skeptical that this would ever be part of my journey. I did not think my insomnia would ever just instantly flip around on its own, but we had tried so much and all of the trial and error was way too hard on me, so I was like, let's just leave the insomnia. I can be nocturnal, it's whatever. Let's focus on the other things, and hopefully if I heal my body enough, the insomnia will just switch around like you said. So that's what we did. Truly, I lived a nocturnal life for so many years, and that is how my personal blog came to be called The Life of an Insomniac, because I only saw the world at night. At this point in this story, you're probably wondering, well, if you didn't do anything, then how did you heal? That's kind of the title, like what? I shared this introductory story because I wanted to share that I really just lived with my insomnia for many years. It just kind of was what it was, and I had to just live with it. And I wanted to share that because I know there's a lot of people out there who probably are in the same boat, who are just having to live with their insomnia while they focus on other problems. And that's okay, and that happens. And I did that myself. When you're in the midst of a health crisis, you have to pick and choose what are the important things you need to work on first, and insomnia just wasn't at the top of my list. I had more pressing matters. I had heart problems. I had stomach problems. I couldn't eat. I was losing weight. Those are more pressing matters than I just sleep during the daytime. So I wanted to share about that just to give a little bit of, honesty on that topic. I just lived with it. But in the midst of that, there were some things that helped me while I was just living with it. And then later on, there were things that actually helped me heal it the rest of the way, and I will get to those. But first, these were the things that helped while I was still in it. Number 1, don't force stuff that isn't working. I made the decision for myself to stop trying to force things that were not helping my insomnia. The trial and error was too much, and I had to pick and choose what was the most pressing matter, like I said, and that ended up being a really, really wise decision for myself. I chose to live with my insomnia and focus on the other parts of my healing first, and that was the right decision for me. It was important for me to stop trying to force things when they obviously weren't working. Number 2, sleep. Even though for a very, very long time I was sleeping at the opposite time of day, I was still making sure to get a healthy amount of sleep, even if that meant I was having to take some naps here and there. I knew that sleep was absolutely essential for my healing, so I made it a real priority that even if my sleep was crazy, I was getting a healthy amount of sleep. Number 3, Benadryl. I took Benadryl sometimes to try and help myself get drowsy, and sometimes this worked and sometimes this didn't. Later on, when I was actually resetting my sleep and it was starting to turn around, taking Benadryl at the same time every night actually was helpful for getting myself into this pattern of getting sleepy at the same time every day. That was when Benadryl was probably the most helpful. Other than that, Number 4, yoga and meditation. Nightly yoga and meditation was a part of my daily routine for pretty much all of the years that I was sick. I got sick when I was 14, and I started doing this when I was 15. I realized that late night yoga was one of the only ways that I could soothe my body and relax all of my aches and pains. And then meditation was one of the only things that would actually help slow my racing thoughts, that would help calm me, they would relax me. It wasn't necessarily putting me to sleep, but it was putting my body into a relaxed state that was helpful for healing. In my teen years, I self-taught and learned that I could put my body to sleep through meditation. This was kind of an unexpected thing that became a part of my life, but I figured out if I could lay still long enough and breathe like sleep, I could trick my body into falling asleep. So my body would feel heavy, it would be sleep twitching, and my mind would still be fully awake. I could open my eyes, if I moved, my body would wake up. I was totally mentally lucid, but my body would be asleep if I stayed still. I did this for years, all the time, because if I couldn't actually sleep, I knew that my body needed the rest. So I would force my body into this sleep-like state, and I would force my body to rest, even if that meant I was laying there mentally awake all night long. When I first started doing this, it took me quite a while to actually get good at it. But over the years and with daily practice for many years, I can now do this within 5 minutes. I can put my body to sleep in 5 minutes, even if my mind is still awake. Practicing this so often for so many years, being able to intentionally put my body into a really, really deeply relaxed state was not only beneficial for my sleep, but it was really beneficial for my mental health, because if I had anxiety or panic or something coming on, I knew how to step back and put my body into a really relaxed state and stop that from happening. This deep, relaxed body sleeping type state also became a big part of my spiritual awakening and my spiritual connection and my spiritual practices. It all just kind of connected. This really has been a part of my life every day since I was 15. Now, interestingly, my sleep actually did fix itself on its own eventually. It really was an overnight thing. One day it just happened. And I was completely in shock that my doctors were right. But at this point, when my sleep just kind of flipped back on its own, sleep hygiene techniques actually started to work for me. And if you don't know what sleep hygiene is, just Google it, because that's a whole long thing if I go into it. Of course, properly treating my health issues, staying on the right medication, eating well, staying hydrated, resting enough, those were all essential things in helping heal. But there's also a lot of other things that I did that helped heal my insomnia the rest of the way. The next things that I will share are the things that helped heal my insomnia the rest of the way, or they were really, really beneficial through my struggles with insomnia. Number 6 is meditating to sleep. So like I said, I could get my body to fall asleep, but once my sleep turned back around on its own, I was actually able to meditate my entire self to sleep, my mind included. And this was a really big deal for me because my mind turning off was the biggest struggle that I had with sleep. I got pretty practiced at being able to turn my entire self off and get myself to sleep. Nowadays I can do it in an average of 15 minutes, or maybe less if I'm already kind of drowsy. Still, after all of these years, I still meditate myself to sleep every night. That is how I sleep. It's the only way I sleep. But since I've done this every night for so many years, I'm really practiced at it, and it's very effective and very fast, and it works really well for me because I trained myself to fall asleep this way. Number 7 is no blue light and dim electronics at nighttime. I've done this for years too, that I always have the blue light turned off on my electronics. So my computer and my phone, I always have the blue light turned off or turned as low as possible. I also have blue light blocking glasses that I wear because I spend a lot of time on electronics, and obviously that plays a role. Cutting out blue light not only was super beneficial for my sleep problems, but it really helped my chronic migraines too. And then, like I said, I also dim my electronics. So during the daytime, I allow the brightness to be a little bit brighter, and then once the sun goes down, I turn all of the brightness down on all of my electronics that I'll be looking at. Number 8 is something I call light and dark. Circadian rhythms, man. The circadian rhythms. Every day I make it a habit to let in sunlight, natural, bright sunlight. And every night when the sun goes down, I let myself slow down and get sleepy. Having good blackout curtains is also really helpful if you're still having to sleep in the morning. This helps the sleep just be deeper. But resetting the circadian rhythms in its absolute simplest explanation is letting nighttime be as dark as possible and let daytime be naturally bright. And natural light, I think, is really key here with circadian rhythms, not using artificial lighting. Number 9 is white noise. White noise really helps, man. I used white noise back when I hadn't even fixed my insomnia, but it just kind of helped soothe me and clear my mind. For many years, I did rain white noise, and then for all these rest of these years, I've just used different types of fans. If you really want to get technical, you can actually search up the specific frequencies that help sleep. This is real stuff. It works. It just so happens that the fans that I use naturally fall into that sound frequency that helps sleep. So intuitively, I did well in choosing my fans. Number 10 is music. Music is such a powerful and wonderful thing. I used to play music every night for so many years, and it was a really soothing thing for me. That even though I wasn't sleeping, it was something that soothed me and felt good. I also figured out over the years that I could use music to affect my mood or help things. I figured out that slow tempo music with a calming kind of vibe to it really helped calm me in the evening and slow me down. And then I figured out that up-tempo music was really great for me in the daytime to like get me going, get me moving. So I intentionally have used music for years that I use calmer music in the evening and I use upbeat music during the day. I shift my music playlists intentionally for this. Number 11 is routine. I feel like if you really want to regulate your sleep, you just have to get consistent and roll with the things that work for you and just get into a consistent routine. I wake up at the same time every day. I fall asleep around the same time every day. I have the same nighttime routine. I have the same morning routine. And having a routine really did help reset my whole sleep schedule and all my circadian rhythms and all of that. So that's something I can definitely say helped me. Since I lived a nocturnal lifestyle for so many years, it's actually really easy for me to fall back into that habit, but it's by habit, not because I have some kind of underlying health issue that's preventing me from being able to sleep, like how it was in the past. But now it's more so that just old habits die hard, and I got really used to being creative during the night, and if I'm not careful, I can slip back into it. But at this point, it's a choice, not because my health is causing it. Since I got sick at 14, I have dealt with this kind of stuff, and I'm turning 23 soon, which means that's almost a decade. So for anyone out there who's struggling with insomnia, believe me, I feel for you. I know these struggles. It's hard and it sucks. But I really hope that anyone out there who's struggling with their sleep, that you just keep trying and finding the things that work for you. I really hope that with time and consistency, you find things that work for you. Something else that I just want to add before I go is I really lucked out that I found friends on the other side of the planet who had the same sleep schedule as me. Because here locally, everyone was asleep when I was awake. And I needed friends. I needed support. And so I found people on the other side of the planet who slept at the same time I did, and they were awake when I was. So anyone out there who is feeling really lonely in their insomnia problems, I highly, highly suggest that you find someone who is awake when you are. Whether they're local, whether they're on the other side of the planet, someone is awake when you are, and you do not have to be alone if you don't want to be. I highly suggest it. Having friends to talk to during my sleepless nights truly made all the difference in my life. Some other things that actually did really help my sleep too is having pets. Having a dog really helped my sleep. He also really helped my mental health. That's not something I talk about all the time, but having pets really, really helped my healing. Also, having my fiancé around, I figured out really helped my sleep too. Initially, it was really hard to sleep with him, but very quickly, he became a very comforting presence. His breathing is like white noise to me, his warmth, his presence, it's just comforting, and he knocks me out. Just being next to him puts me to sleep. Really, the only time I don't sleep now is when he and I are apart. We had to be apart many times this year, and that was actually how I realized this year that the only reason that my sleep fully reset is because I've been living with him and sleeping next to him. When he and I are apart, I'm sometimes awake all night because old habits die hard. Anyway, that is a bit about my story with insomnia and my healing journey with insomnia. I truly wish everyone all the best on their healing journeys. Thanks for watching. Classic Mayo. Be sure to like this video if you like and subscribe to my channel if you want to come back for more. Check out all of my playlists if you are interested to hear more about my health and healing journey.